As we get closer to the first big weekend of summer activities, many are wondering what the Memorial Day weekend brings for weather and how the summer looks for the current drought. Joining us with those details, including how the National Weather Service updates us on the heat, is Warning Coordination Meteorologist Mike Moritz of the Hastings National Weather Service. Mike, Memorial Day weekend, big for outdoor plans. How is this weekend looking for temperatures? Also, any possible adjustments in plans due to the rain?
Well, I've been around this place a long time, and Memorial Day weekends always have some interesting weather. You kind of have three choices: hot and windy, cold and rainy, or severe weather. And it looks like this Memorial weekend is going to favor the cooler and wetter side. I know that's hard to take after it was so hot and windy and warm last week. This weekend does look wet. Saturday looks like about the wettest day across most of the region. It's not a total rain out, but there's definitely some rain around. There'll be some lighter showers Sunday and Monday, probably on the western high plains, but I don't see a lot of sun. I think temperatures are cool, lots of 60s, and cool mornings as well. So if you're out and about this weekend, dress warm. Don't be shocked by the colder weather.
The summer months keep us busy outside. During those summer months of June, July, and August, Mike, will it be warmer or cooler than normal, and could there be some periods of extreme heat?
Yeah, when you look ahead at the outlook going into the summer, it's really not that great for most of the country. In fact, the Central Plains region, including Nebraska and Kansas in general, is for warmer than normal temperatures through the summer and drier than normal conditions. Now, we've had a lot of drought across the region. We've gotten some rain recently. We're going to get a little bit more here in the next week or two. But the long-term look, once we go into summer, it's probably going to hit pretty hard. I can't tell you exactly when that's going to happen. It might be mid-June. It might be a little bit later in June. But I think the summer itself is probably going to be on the warm side, and the rain's going to be spotty at best.
And to offset any of that heat, is it looking good for much in the way of rain chances, even severe storms, and keeping that water use down for irrigation?
Well, when it's been so dry, any rain you get is generally good. Now, we did have some areas of the state that really received some beneficial rain the last 7 to 10 days, and unfortunately a few spots have gotten too much rain. But in general, we're doing better, and going ahead, the forecast at least has some rain chances in it. I would caution that a little bit. I think the best rain chances is probably through Memorial Day weekend, and then it becomes a little less likely after that. We're going into what's called a northwest flow. A lot of times that's drier, but there are occasional light type of precipitation events you can get into that. I'm cautiously optimistic we're going to improve a little bit more, but I think the long-term look is irrigation use is probably going to be up this summer.
Talking right now with Warning Coordination Meteorologist Mike Moritz for more on how things are looking as we head into summer. Mike, increasing drought continues to be a big concern. How does the current drought rank when compared to others, and are we headed to more areas with extreme and possibly exceptional drought?
Well, we're in a little bit of a transition right now. We've certainly gotten worse over the last 2 months. In fact, when you look back at 6 months prior to the rain we just had, places like Grand Island and Hastings, it was top 5 driest December through mid-May on record. In fact, I think Grand Island was the second driest. We have gotten some rain, which has been helpful. I think most of that rain, though, is needed for recharge, and it's going to be used up by the growth in the plants and the needs of our growing seasons. I expect pockets of improvement over the next week or two, but in general, we're probably going to stay firmly in drought and probably see expansion of drought in terms of its areal coverage and also maybe its intensity as we get to the mid to late summer. I know that's not a great look, but it just seems like that's probably the way we should be betting right now.
The National Weather Service updates us for the effects of heat over a 7-day period. Mike, how can we view that heat risk page and make the most of the information it provides?
Yeah, last year the National Weather Service made public a page about heat risk, and it's basically a 7-day outlook for heat conditions. The easiest way to find it is just Google heat risk, and you'll come up with the website. The nice thing about this page is that it's a very quick look for 7 days, 1 day at a time. It uses a very simple color scheme to highlight the areas that are going to be impacted most by heat, and it takes into account a historical perspective. In other words, if it's early or late in the season and there's a heat wave, it's going to highlight that a little bit more. Maybe our bodies aren't quite ready or we're just not quite used to the heat at that point. This is a helpful way to see that. Again, I think it will highlight especially the extreme heat days as we get into the mid to late summer when, I hate to say this, but schools start back up and practice starts again, and then we've got to be looking at how we work with our athletes and things like that. So this is a nice little simple product to let people look 7 days ahead.
This last winter, we saw some new terminology when there was extreme cold. Is a change coming this summer, Mike, when the heat cranks up?
Yes, it is. In fact, we're going to follow along that line of extreme cold and go with extreme heat type of wording instead of heat advisory or heat warning. So it'll be extreme heat warning if we get into very significant heat type situations. And just for people looking ahead, that is most likely to occur in late July through about the second week of August, maybe the third week in an exceptional year. When we start looking for those truly dangerous heat days where working or just even playing outside, being outside becomes problematic, those really start to show late July through mid-August. I hope people will just keep that in mind as they go through the summer. Keep heat at the forefront. It can sneak up on you, and there's a lot of ways to get information, and just be ready for when it happens.
Thanks, Mike, for joining us. That's Mike Moritz, Warning Coordination Meteorologist at the National Weather Service in Hastings, updating us on what to expect this summer. For weather updates anytime, you could go to weather.gov. Also watch the social media for the National Weather Service offices in Hastings, North Platte, Goodland, and Valley Omaha. I'm Paul Perkins on the Rural Radio Network.